So lately I've been getting back into watching anime, and one of the animes that I've been watching is Naruto Shippuden. Anyways, while watching Naruto, I had a brain blast. You know what Naruto and architecture have in common? A house. So just like what any self-respecting architect would do after that life-changing realization, I proceeded to recreate the Uzumaki residence using 3D architectural software. But before that, of course, I needed some reference images, and this is where I came across the first problem. The Naruto that I'm watching, the single not that Naruto, lives in an apartment. Man, that's just way too much work just to 3D model the interiors of a messy teenage boy's house. God knows how many crispy socks I have to 3D model.
Crispy socks here, crispy socks there.
Anyways, I decided to recreate grown-up married man Naruto's house, which looks pretty straightforward and easy. You could probably model it in 3 hours. Boy, was I wrong. So after a few days of planning, trial and error, 3D modeling and procrastination, okay, maybe mostly procrastination, I put together a montage of me 3D modeling Naruto's house. For starters, the 3D modeling software I used is SketchUp, and the reason for that is because in my opinion, it is the most user-friendly 3D modeling software out there that has a ton of plugin options. And plugins are pretty useful, especially when you're modeling non-conventional stuff like this. So for example, Naruto's house for some reason has a ton of exposed pipes, which is, you know, good plumbing practice since if a pipe breaks, it doesn't leak poo-poo water all up in your house. And also in this case, it contributes to the house's architectural character. So if there's modernism, I call this style Dattebayism. But all that aside, modeling pipes is pretty straightforward as long as it stays in one axis, like this pipes underneath the roof eaves. Unfortunately for us, ninja plumbers of Konoha decided that roof pipes are now a thing. Why? So now we have to find a way to create pipes that look like they were just installed by a drunk Japanese plumber. So for this one, I downloaded a plugin called Clothworks. Basically what this does is it turns any geometry into a cloth simulation. So naturally, it will turn lines into rope simulations. And that is exactly what we need for these roof pipes. Because what are pipes anyway? They're just water ropes. Okay, what I did is I simulated a bunch of ropes and dropped them onto our roof geometry. Then we just used the follow me command and bam! We now have roof pipes. Now with the roof pipes done, we will now proceed on to the roof details. So one way of making things look realistic in 3D modeling is adding a chamfered edge or a round edge to your geometries. Cause in real life, the edges of wood planks ain't really that pointy. So to accomplish this, we install another plugin. In this case, I installed the round corner plugin, which is pretty self-explanatory. Also, to make the wood seem more real, I added a few chipped and splintering off effects on the edges of some planks. Now, all I did was just use the round corner plugin and bingo malingo, realistic roof planks. And just like that, our 3D model is almost done. Now comes the most important part of 3D modeling, which is what we call rendering. This is the part where we take our 3D model, chuck a bunch of materials onto it, and magic, it looks like a real house. How I wish it were that simple. Oh, wait, with our next plugin, it is. So our next plugin is called Enscape, and they are the sponsor of this video. It is a real-time rendering software that takes your 3D model from this to this. And I'm not only saying this because they sponsored this whole video, but Enscape is the easiest rendering software that I have ever used. And the results you get from this software is just superb. So if you guys want a more in-depth review of Enscape, check out this video I made right here. But you know, not now, maybe later after you watch this video. Because you know, YouTube algorithm and stuff. Anyways, now that that's out of the way, let us add some materials to our model. So one of the things I love about the Enscape plugin is the live render feedback. So as I apply the materials to my model, Enscape will immediately render the materials I placed in real time. So for this model, I try to be as faithful to the source material as possible. As much as it hurts the architect in me, I tried my best to keep the colors of the materials similar to the anime. And I'm gonna be honest guys, I think it turned out looking great. So the only thing I would have changed to make Naruto's house look a little bit better are the window frames. I would have made them out of wood as well. I think that would have fit better with the overall aesthetic of his house. But you know, we're trying to copy his house exactly, so I guess we will settle for this aluminum window frames. Another awesome thing about Enscape Material Editor is that you can easily add a bump texture map to your materials. So that is what gives our roof this 3D wood grain texture right here. Makes it look extra realistic. Also, another way of making your 3D renders more realistic is to make your materials shiny. So as you guys could see here, I made the roofs and the pipes a little bit shinier than they're supposed to be. So once I'm done with the materials, all that is left to do is to add some details like trees and maybe a few furniture inside. This is like my favorite part of any render project. I don't know man, there's just something relaxing about planting some digital trees, you know? So this process only took about 30 minutes thanks to the expansive asset library of Enscape. So way back when I haven't been using Enscape's asset library, I would usually spend hours searching the internet for 3D models of trees and you know, it felt like a super hassle. But now all I have to do is drag and drop my desired trees from Enscape library and bing pot, we have instantly planted a tree. Take that, Mr. Beast! So aside from trees, there are also a ton of awesome things in the asset library, like you know, background buildings like this and this other building right here. And of course, my favorite thing to add to any 3D model is tiny little doodads to make your 3D model look less staged and more natural. Now, the thing I love about the items that you import from the asset library is that they already have pre-applied materials, which saves you a ton of time, kinda like this shiny bike right here. Instant shiny materials. So the only downside that I could see to the asset library is that they don't have any Naruto stuff. Anyways, just like that, with all the minor details in our 3D model is almost done. All that's left to do is to give you guys a 3D tour of the exterior of the Uzumaki residence. Okay, let us begin with the main structure, which is this yurt-inspired double cylinder right here. So to 3D model this one, I used some sketches I found on the internet as reference, and the most challenging part is this extruded porch right here. It definitely took a ton of trial and error because these two walls aren't really perpendicular to each other. And you know, in the sketch it looks good, but once I translated it into a 3D model, it doesn't really feel right. Moving on to the second story, we have a slightly smaller cylinder, which is where I assume the bedrooms are located at. Also, if you guys notice, there aren't any furnitures or walls inside. That's what architects usually do when we render 3D scenes. We just place items on the areas that are seen on our rendering viewport. So in our case, the rendering viewport is just as if you are standing at the lawn looking at the house. So you wouldn't really be able to see it if I placed a bed and some furniture inside the second floor right there. So yeah, we do that to save time and also to make the 3D model less demanding for our PC. And that is why most of the Enscape assets, when you look at our SketchUp window, look less detailed. So this is called proxy replicas. So instead of having to render a tree with a million leaves like this in my SketchUp window, my graphics card now only has to worry about showing some wonky corn dog looking thing. Anyways, the Uzumaki residence also has this roof deck with some solar panels, which if we look closer, has one of my favorite textures in the model. It actually has individual solar cells, which, you know, could not really be seen, but it makes me all fuzzy inside knowing that this texture is here. So before we move on to the annex structure right there, let's take a minute to admire the pipes, which took me way too much time to model. Ooh yeah, noise. Alright, we are on to the annex part now. So this annex is pretty simple. It is just a normal two-story structure with a patio and balcony. So I took some liberties as to what items I put in the patio right here, just to make it look like it has been lived in. And that is one of my techniques when creating 3D scenes, is that I imagine the people living in it and I create a story as to why certain objects are placed there. So take that skateboard and two balls right there for example. So I imagine that after playing outside, Boruto would just leave these things out there, kind of just perch the skateboard onto these boxes right here, and you know, that is the way it is going to look. Real life is messy, so if we go about creating a perfectly organized scene, then the rendering will look ultra fake. And with that being said, I guess that is the end of our video. So if you guys like to create your own structure and render it, I've placed links down below for a 14-day free trial of Enscape. I will also put a link below as to where you guys could download this Naruto house 3D model that I've made. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. If you guys want to see me recreate some other anime or cartoon house, leave it in the comments below. Also, do not forget to like and subscribe. I will see you my dudes on my next video. Flying peace!